today's video, I'm going to share with you the downside of having pet chickens. As a chicken dad, it's been a rough summer. I lost 2 girls this summer. And to be clear, I didn't just lose chickens, I lost pets. Chickens are more than just farm animals. Once you decide to have chickens as pets, they're pets. You name them, you take care of them. It's tough. It's tough being a chicken dad. So if you've been following my story, just go back to previous videos where we built the coop and get the chickens and take you through all that. I got chickens maybe two years ago, a little over 2 years ago, and it was on a whim, honestly. During the early days of the pandemic, just a little voice inside of me saying, you should get chickens. No reason, didn't grow up with chickens, didn't grow up with chickens, didn't have zero experience with chickens. This is Toby. He's a pain in the ass. He's a cute little puppy. He's a year-old. Yeah, so during the pandemic, I had to get chickens. Might have to do with the fact that we're empty nesters now. All our 4 kids are all over 20. The youngest being 22. They're out on their own, doing their thing. So yeah, empty nesters, and just decided to get chickens. So did a lot of research. That's what I do. Ordered chickens from My Pet Chicken, different breed, all different breeds. My objective was to just get chickens that, for the most part, looked different, and their eggs look different, and you just have a way to tell them each part. If you get, if you get 11 chickens that all look the same, you can try naming them. You'll never really kind of get a handle on who's who. But each of my girls, they each look different, laid different eggs. Anyways, that worked well. My Pet Chicken, no free ads. Sent me, for the most part, healthy chickens. 2 of them died in the first couple of weeks, but that's the ratio. So you always order extra. One of them was a male. Eventually, didn't know that at the time, but we had to get rid of him. If you kind of get reset in the first few weeks that what you're doing is trying your best to keep these things alive. You get attached to them. They have little personalities. You don't think about them as having personalities, but they absolutely do, just like this guy. Tons and tons of personality. Minnie passed away this week, and Minnie passed away this week, and she was my tough one. After Blue, the rooster, had to leave, Minnie took over, basically controlling the roost. Sometimes we'd catch her on video humping other girls. She was a tough cookie, but she had tons and tons of personality. When I walked in with snacks, she was the first to jump up and get on one of the top perches and start pecking at the food before all the other girls got to it. So she was very cute. Black copper marin, beautiful golden collar. Just a beautiful, beautiful bird. So the way that worked is on Wednesday, during my lunch break from work, I was working at home. I went out to see my girls. I brought them some treats, and I noticed that Minnie wasn't showing up for their treats. So I looked in the hen box, she wasn't there. And then I saw in the corner, she was kind of next to the water tank, and just there. I walked over, and she was covered in flies. She was still standing, but she was covered in flies. So I picked her up, pushed all the flies away, and carried her around a little bit. And she kind of melted in my arms, and she seemed to be happy that I was there. I might be projecting, but that's how it felt. And walked around with her a little bit. I didn't realize it until shortly a few minutes later that my shirt was getting wet. Her vent had prolapsed. What that means is that the inside of her vent came out. It's not a super pleasant thing, and I'm sure it's super painful. So when I looked at it, it was covered in maggots. So yeah, her vent was prolapsed, and took her inside. I gave her a bath, several baths, a lot of rinsing off of the maggots, some Epsom salt in the bath, just let her rest in the bath a little bit. Eventually, when we stopped seeing the maggots floating in the water, I took her out. It was about 30 minutes. Took her out, put her in a, I tried pushing the vent back, or the prolapse back with rubber gloves, latex gloves. And yeah, I'm not so sure it worked. Yeah, I took her out and wrapped her up in a blanket, and I just sat on the deck right there in the sun and let her get some fresh air. I sat there holding her for 2 hours. Just cuddling her. And gotta say, it doesn't get easy. It's not like you can lose like 3 or 4 chickens and then it just kind of gets easier. It doesn't. So we just cuddled for a while. Eventually my wife, after a couple hours, my wife put together a crate with some food and a place for her to lie down, and we put her in the crate. She laid down flat. All right, so we brought her inside and we put her in a little crate. She's hanging in there, right, girl? So we washed her up again, and there's a ton of maggots that just flew out in the water. So it's good, I guess, that we got getting the maggots out, but seems like there's an endless stream of maggots. We put some Fetricide. Here, this stuff. On her prolapse, and put some, gave her with some water and some, put some apple cider vinegar and some probiotics and some FedRx vitamins in there. Took a syringe and force fed her some of that liquid, and now we're just waiting. I tried propping her up again, gave her some fortified water with water that's fortified with some vitamins and apple cider vinegar and some probiotics, just trying anything. And I gave her that in a dropper, just basically took the dropper, stuck it down her throat, and just gave her some water. And when I left her, when I put her back in the crate, she she was standing, and she looked like she was perked up a little bit, but after a minute she just fell back down and started closing her eyes. So we just let her rest. Kind of knew where things were going, and it was she was either going to get better or she wasn't. So yeah, so about 3 hours later, my wife was in the kitchen and she heard Minnie flutter, and my experience, that's usually the last thing that they do before they pass. So she fluttered. My wife went to see, and she'd passed. Basically, chicken, you can always tell when a chicken's passed. Just lays out flat. So yeah, Minnie died. It was just, she wasn't able to fight it. Anyways, all that to say, I'm not sure raising chickens are for me. I love my girls. I don't like to see them die. There's a lot of death. And, some people will be cold and say, that's life. There's lots of death in life. And I'll say, yeah, that's absolutely true. And it always hurts. And when you have chickens, you don't have just one puppy. You have 10 of them, and that's a lot. And they don't last 20 years. 5 to 10 years tops. So it's a lot of goodbyes. And so, fundamentally, the downside of having pet chickens is that they die. They die a lot, and it's tough. If I had to do it again, knowing what I know now, I'm stubborn, so I'd probably do it again. But I'd be in the same position where I'd be like, that's a lot of heartbreak. And something a little weird about choosing to have your heart broken that much. So right now, my girls are back over there. That's their coop, and got 6 girls left. Super healthy. Minnie wasn't healthy. She laid a lash egg about 8 weeks ago, and she seemed like she was getting better since then. But she laid a couple eggs. They were thin-shelled, but she was starting to lay again. And my guess is she tried to lay an egg that didn't have a shell, and she pushed too hard, and her vent prolapsed. And once it prolapses, honestly, I don't know. I can't imagine it getting back to normal unless you catch it right away and there's no flies. But she was outside, so there were flies. Anyways, that's it. I'll take you through a quick walk right now, go see my girls, and yeah, make sure they're all good. Hi girls. Hey Andy. Who are my pretty girls? Come on. Hi girls.